All right, and we're live. Welcome to More Than Numbers, where the numbers are just the beginning. Gotta talk about my team, United. Oh boy, is there a lot to get into. I don't even think we have all the time to get into it. Okay, so United plays Copenhagen in the Copenhagen in the Champions League today, and squeak
I'm not
out a
gonna lie, I
result
looked at
one
this before
zero.
it
I
started and I
mean,
said, man, I hope Copenhagen does it.
barely beat them. You just wanted the reaction. You just wanted to hop on here and be
Just
like,
with the eyes, you
so,
know?
okay, just the eyes. So, the main points that I want to talk about with United, to me, there's three. To me, there's three.
Okay,
There's Maguire. Got to
okay,
touch on Maguire because he scored the winner. Onana. I'm going to touch on Onana. Finally makes a save. And then the third piece, which I think is the most controversial, is I think Ten Hag is not the answer at United. And I saw it tonight. So I'm going to start with Maguire. I want to give him his credit because he's had a really tough last couple years at United. He decided to stay. I think it had more to do with money than anything else. So I'm not really giving him the compliments of like I'm going to
right,
stay and really work hard. No, it was down to money. Okay, but he's
right.
still been a professional the whole time, right? It's not like he's been a locker room cancer or a bad attitude in quotations because it's skeptical
Okay,
like a
yep,
Sancho, right? Potentially, right? Not saying that he was a locker room cancer, but just in the sense of attitude wise, there's been a lot of stuff that's come out with Sancho, attitude potentially, his training, right? Ten Hag touched on his training. He hasn't been with the team for a month and a half, more so to do because he won't apologize to the manager. Okay, so we haven't seen that out of Maguire. So I'm going to give him his props there. I'm going to give him his props for being a professional. I'm going to give him his props for what people would consider, or I have to
okay,
consider for him, good performances. But for Maguire, I think ultimately what we're seeing is just a player that's getting back into somewhat form
okay,
for himself, but ultimately is still not good enough for United. And I am just hoping that they do not fall for this right spell that he's going to have in the team because of the injuries that we have. I ultimately hope
okay.
he is still sold. And I hope that this is actually I'm crossing my fingers that this is actually better for United because we get a player that hopefully is playing better. We then get his stock raised where people then still want to buy him or more
Okay.
teams want to come in to buy him. And I'm hoping that we can recoup as much of that money that we spent on him as possible. So there was uh, a report that West Ham was trying to buy him
I
over the
saw
summer for
that. I did
40
see
mil,
that.
and one of the reasons he declined it was because his salary on United, his wage bill, West Ham was not going to pay all of it, and United didn't work out that okay, we'll still pay some of your salary even to play for another team, and we sold you, right? And so that was one of the determining factors in him staying. So I think if West Ham was coming in for him at 40 mil and he was playing and as bad as he was playing and not playing for United and all the skeptics around him, I think if he's playing better or good enough for United, if we could sell him for 50, if somehow we pulled the wool over somebody and got him to pay 60 mil for Maguire, I think please pack his bags for him, like get him out of there for 60 mil. That would be an
Yeah.
absolute steal. An absolute steal if we were able to sell Harry Maguire for 60 mil. So, but
Okay.
so that's what I wanted to say on Maguire. Ultimately, it's great that he's a little bit better. He scored tonight, but he needs to go. Like there's still moments you can still see him in possession. Personally, I think he's shocking. Defensively, individually, he's a liability. He always will be. He's not ultimately a good enough defender for United. So, but got to
Okay.
give him his props still. Okay, so that's on Maguire. Second point I wanted to hit on is Unana. For the love of God, we he had a save. I mean, it took 1/3 of the season for him to make one save, but he finally made it right. So Onana just this irks me. So I think I'm a part of the United fans that I still think it was the right
Okay.
decision to get rid of De Gea. Okay, it was the right decision to get rid of De Gea. Unfortunately, we've had to deal with what Onana's been. I don't know that they made the right decision in what goalkeeper they brought in, but I also don't think anybody expected the level of performance that we've been getting from him. It's flat out been shocking. Now the thing that I don't know is that was Onana playing in good enough teams that ultimately hid his liabilities, because the only teams that I know Onana from is Ajax and then Inter Milan. So Ajax is the best team, or were the best team in the Netherlands when he was playing there, right? They won multiple leagues, and then he went to Inter Milan, one of the best teams in Italy. Now, supposedly Man United is supposed to also be one of the best teams, but we also know that David De Gea, for essentially what's been one of the worst stretches in United's history, was a saving grace a lot of the times with saves. He was constantly player of the season, right? And so I don't think anybody expected the poor performance, the poor performances and the poor goals that Unana's let in. I mean, there are some goals that you look at them and you're like, how are you a professional
What
goalkeeper?
is?
Like, why are you dropping on your butt? Like, dude, there would be one on ones. There's been multiple one on ones this season. He doesn't dive, he falls on his butt. And you look at him and you're like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like that, you're not even diving forward. You're not even like, how are you falling on your butt? It's, it's to me, some of the stuff has been crazy from him. So it was really good to see him have an absolute clutch save that led to a United victory, right? So he made the penalty save in the 93rd, 94th minute, essentially the last kick of the game. You know, I remember De Gea. One thing with De Gea that always bothered me is I never felt he made penalty saves. So for Onana to make this save was astronomical, and I really, really hope that for him, this really changes. I really hope for him that this changes his trajectory now. Like I hope this save gives him better confidence. I hope that we start to see more and more saves from him, because I mean it was bad. It was essentially you shoot it on target, it's a goal. If it wasn't within his reach, it was a goal. Like there, diving save, never heard of it. That's what Onana's been in the last couple months. So freaking blessing out of nowhere. Because I was sitting there, that penalty is given up from United. I'm like, I had zero expectation that it was going to be saved. I was
Yeah.
like, well, this is a 1-1 result. Great. And that's been Onana's fault, right? Realistically, that the fact that he's
Right.
given nobody any confidence. So hopefully I can now see a progression from him, because the reason we bought him was that he was supposed to be able to play out of the back. And what he's had to do in the last couple games as to not essentially mess up is he's stopped playing the ball short. So the whole reason we bought him was to play out of the back, and now he hasn't been playing out of the back. So, we're gonna cross our fingers that this is a massive step in the
Right.
right direction for Onana, right? So great save from Onana. Thank you. Finally, big time save for a big time money transfer on a goalkeeper, right? Finally saw it. So let's hope that continues. And the last point that I want to hit on is Ten Hag is not the guy. And I've been trying to back him, and I've been trying to back him, and I've been trying to back him, and I've been saying for patience, I've been saying for patience. I've lost it all after this game with Copenhagen. The tactics from Ten Hag were absolutely atrocious. It was an embarrassment. That team didn't even look like a team. His tactics in the first half made me think, does he have a professional coaching license? There is zero midfielders going to the ball. He pushed everybody in a straight line, right? So you essentially had five guys just standing. There's zero movement. There's zero build-up play, right? Like patterns of build-up play consistently. The decision making of the players is always awful, right? And so there's a level of like, well, is it the players? Is it the coach? No, it's the coach. And I will still say that it's the players. And I know that sounds weird saying it's the coach and it's the players, but it's both. There's been zero, uh, and I'm blanking on where I wanted to go because I'm so frustrated with his tactics, but progression. There's been zero progression on the build-up play from United. Now, when you get into the final third, that's where your individual brilliance needs to come out, right? That's where the creativity needs to come out. That's where the special needs to come out for your players
Right.
to a certain degree, right? Now, you still need to tell certain players, like, hey, you should be getting up into these positions. We should be seeing overlaps. This is what we're looking for more. But what I'm seeing from United is a team that can only play the long ball, and that's it. There's no patterns 10 to 15 yards from each other. There's no build up really from the back line into the midfield into the forwards. It's we kind of play it around ish, and then it's a long diagonal ball. And if a long diagonal ball isn't on, good effing luck. So it's the tactics are so bad from him. Second piece that I'm over. He keeps somehow Anthony is back in the starting lineup, and the kid's a waste of space, an absolute waste of space. It's a bust. He's one of our biggest busts that we've ever spent on because he was an over $100 million player, and he's a bust. So the fact that Ten Hag continues to play this man without even a single shred of consistency is I'm over it. I'm over it. It's like you're doing it for certain players and you're not doing it for others. It's supposed to be based off of performance. He's not playing well ever. Why is he starting? Start different players. If you bring him on as a sub, fine. But this man starting is a travesty to United. Like he shouldn't be. It's a travesty. He is so bad. Dave, he picks up the ball, he stands there, he looks at the guy and he does this. No, I'm not moving, by the way. And then I pass it backwards. That's his whole game. He doesn't do shit. He stands there, shakes on the ball like he's going to move a guy from body thing. And then he passes it backwards. I want to look at I would want to see the stats in front of me of how many one-on-ones he actually wins, because it's probably 0 out of freaking 0, because he doesn't take anybody on. He's a waste of space as a winger. It's so bad. And we overpaid for him, and I knew we overpaid for him, and you were trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. He's awful. He should not be touching the starting lineup on United. And the one saving grace that you have from him as a player that he's young. I believe he's under 22 years old. Okay, so in that grace, can you allow him a little more time to build into the team? Yes. Should he get some starts? Maybe here and there. Fine. If you freaking have to, fine. But he really should not be in ever your full-on starting 11. And I don't care if people would say, like, oh, he kind of does a professional job here and there. Does he? Does he really, though? Like, because does he? I mean, for Christ's sake, does he ever put in a cross that connects? Does he ever beat a player one-on-one and do anything that we're like, hey, yeah, you're actually very skillful? No, he doesn't. It's shocking. And so the fact that Ten Hag continues to play him, and I don't want to get into the skeptics of what happened with why he had to be out for kind of like a month and a half. But that's the other thing. He was out for a month and a half. He comes back, and then within a game of like being off the bench, he's now starting again. Get out of here with that nonsense. So I think Ten Hag, he's completely lost my faith after this game. The tactics were atrocious. His faith in Anthony is pathetic. Honestly, he's not performing. You look bad. You're not sticking with what you were in the first year of being ruthless or playing players based off of their performance. You're now picking players off of favoritism, and that's not okay as a manager. You still should be picking players off of performance, which is why McTominay started tonight, right? Because he had scored 3 in his last 2 games. So you're doing it for some players, but you're not doing it for others. Absolutely ridiculous from Ten Hag. And so I don't think he's the answer at United. Now there's way bigger issues with United than just Ten Hag, and you can go on for days and days about United with that. But I'm just gonna say I now no longer believe that Ten Hag is the answer. So we'll see what happens there. But appreciate you, Dave, for letting me go on my Man United
All
rant.
good.
Right? I had to get it. I had to get those 3 segments in. Okay, well that's gonna do it for us here at More Than Numbers. Appreciate you guys tuning in to listen. Do us a favor, please hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and
Share
as
with your
always,
friends.
leave a comment. Let us know your thoughts on any of the segments that we talked about. Share with your friends, as Dave mentioned. We will be back in the next couple weeks. Look forward to seeing everybody then.
Bye.